A few years ago, I worked for a company that hired a new district manager to oversee a group of stores. While the position was important, from week one, this new manager, we'll call her Sammy, made it a point to call me several times a week. She would put on her business hat and tell me all the ways she imagined I was ruining stock for her stores. Keep in mind, it was her employees providing me with their requests, but no matter how many times I asked the store managers to double-check their lists, I would receive phone calls on delivery days with items missing or ordered incorrectly. For the next 3 or 4 days, I'd end up doing nothing but correct orders until the next shipment. After Sammy's first week of this, she started calling me. She would insist I didn't know what I was doing, then scold me about wasting company money. She would rant at me for hours about missing items, our excessive waste as we reviewed past orders line by line, then insist on ordering more products we already had too much of. At the end of each call, she'd demand I find faster methods to overnight her stuff to her. I was constantly blamed for things I had no control over, and no way of verifying as I worked in a separate office from the stores. The final straw for me was when it came time for our big inventory and restock. She was strenuously warned 4 times to provide her list of everything she needed by a certain deadline due to the massive order. Otherwise, anything missing would have to wait until restock was completed with our second inventory. This was standard company policy. She turned in her list 3 days late, then started calling that Friday morning when her store received 0 shipments. It went all the way up to the VP, who, in order to appease the situation, asked her how she wanted to fix it. She requested that she and I go through her list together and overnight the most important items to her, which was pretty much her entire list. I was livid. It was an all-day job, setting me back a day's worth of work for the rest of the week. I complained to my boss, who told me she's the district manager, and we have to just go with the flow, even though she was in the wrong. At that point, I stopped talking. I said, I'm not going to say anything. I'm gonna let everybody else see what I'm dealing with when they have to be bothered with her. A few weeks went by, and to my surprise, the phone calls stopped coming. Then, one day, one of the higher-ups in the office started shouting and ranting on the phone, followed by another employee. Then another, until the entire office were in a fury of cussing and swearing. I came out from getting my coffee in the break room to ask them all what was the matter, and they collectively said Sammy. They each had their own stories of dealings with Sammy, and were sick of her. As much as I'd like to say that little vindication was the end of the story, it was only the halfway point. Months went by of Sammy being horrible. She was constantly telling everyone how to do their jobs, and throwing her weight around. It got so bad that other district managers began calling into our office to complain about her. But still nothing changed, until one fatal afternoon. Apparently she began to rule over other districts with an iron fist. It was so bad that during one of my many tug-of-war phone matches with Sammy, she was demanding I place special orders for her outside the scheduled time. But still pissed about the big inventory incident, I refused to do her any favors. Then immediately after I hung up, I got a phone call from one of the other district managers. We'll call him Wilbert. His voice was so rattled and jittery that he started stammering as he begged me to just give her whatever she wanted, because it was for the good of the company. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something was off about the way he kept going on and on about how much of a great leader Sammy was and how nervous he sounded. A few weeks later, I came to work, and I was immediately called into my boss's office.